Good evening. I would like to call the June 12th meeting of the President and Board of Trustees for the Village of Indian Head Park. Can we please have roll called, please? Clerk?
Trustee Saldana.
Here.
Trustee Eck.
Here.
Trustee Svetka.
Here.
Trustee Gazis.
Here.
Trustee Donnersberger. Is absent. Trustee Iannacco. He was here a minute ago. I don't know where.
Escorting a resident out to her.
Oh, there was a resident that needed to.
I'll mark it when he comes back in.
And thank you.
Oh, Trustee, sorry, President Naaman Wittenberg. My apologies.
Here, thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She's waylaid him.
The first item that we will be reviewing tonight is the village president's report. Oh, sorry about that. The first thing we'll review tonight is the village president's report. Dave? The Wolf Road redesign update. The Wolf Road study team has selected a preferred alternative for the Wolf Road redesign. The Indian Head Park and Burr Ridge Board of Trustees have indicated their support for Alternative 1, baseline sidewalk. Their letters of support documenting this decision can be seen on the Wolf Road Study website. Alternative 1, baseline sidewalk, will be carried forward as the preferred alternative, meaning that this is the one alternative that the study team will refine to determine specific roadway footprint, drainage, structural, environmental, and potential property impacts. The next portion of the study will involve substantial coordination with the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway Administration, and other jurisdictional agencies that will take time to work through. Our first project presentation meeting with IDOT and the Federal Highway Administration was in early May 2025. Once impacts are better determined, they will be presented at Corridor Advisory Committee meeting number 3 and public meeting number 3, which are the study's final public involvement activities. The study team anticipates holding these meetings in 2027 with a goal of finishing the Phase 1 study in summer 2027. For those of you that may have not remembered this from some of the emails that have gone out or the website for wolfroadstudy.com, is that this is the baseline sidewalk for alternative number 1. It is also shown here in the segment alternative 1 here on the board, where you can see that there is an entire sidewalk from Plainfield Road all the way to 79th Street. There's been some confusion on that, so I wanted to make sure everybody knows that there is a full sidewalk there. There is a partial sidewalk from Plainfield Road to Acacia Drive North that meets up with the path, the sidewalk, and then there also is a sidewalk from 72nd Street to 79th Street. So we have a full sidewalk on the west, and we have a partial sidewalk on the east. Also, you can see the cross-section of the roadway here. There is a full presentation online regarding this from our December meeting, 2024, and there also is a video of the entire meeting showing all 3 alternatives. If you have any questions, you should feel free to email info@wolfroadstudy.com. The Wolf Road Study website has been fully updated with everybody's public comments that have been provided to the village and the study team. So whether it was a phone call, an email, an analog written comment, all of those comments have been compiled and put on the website, wolfroadstudy.com. So if people are wondering what the community felt about the roadway, those are all on the website. If you're having trouble finding that, please let us know and we can show you where that information is located. The Village of Indian Head Park, with the support of Strand and RM Chin, has provided written responses Some of those went out in the mail on the 9th, and some of those went out this afternoon. We have sent 92 individual emails for people that submitted comments via email. Those responses were sent today. For 17 individuals who submitted comments via physical comment cards, those were also answered either by email or snail mail, and those were mailed on 6/9. There were 5 individuals who submitted comments via voicemail, and those were also either mailed out on Monday 6/9 or emails went out this afternoon. We also alerted the 4 petitioners, which were Acacia, Ashbrook Townhome, Ashbrook Estate Home, safe, accessible routes for all, and all of those responses and emails went out today to alert them of the decision on the Wolf Road project. There was some people that provided comments that we were unable to find emails or their addresses. So if those people would like to contact us for answers, if their questions haven't been answered, please email us at info@wolfroadstudy.com. Now I'd like to give you an update on the Plainfield Road redesign update. This is another major road update that for a redesign that is all the way from Cook County, Plainfield Road, Cook County, County Line Road, all the way to East Avenue. And it encompasses Burr Ridge, Indian Head Park, LaGrange, McCook, Western Springs, Countryside, and the LaGrange Highlands. The Village of Indian Head Park participated in the Corridor Advisory Council meeting today, which was held by Cook County. And the public meeting number 2 for Plainfield Road has been scheduled for August 4th, this August 4th at 5:30 p.m. at the Highlands Middle School. So please mark your calendars. You will be getting updates on this as the date draws closer to the August meeting. We also have a senior congregate meal, on June 26th. Feel free to join us for a presentation, Where to Hang Your Hat, about senior living options. And last but not least, we have some wonderful presenters tonight from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, or CMAP, where the Village of Indian Head Park was awarded a technical assistance grant for pavement evaluation and measurement. And we are so happy to have 2 representatives, Rami Shakban and Joe Stefanski. They're both highly decorated and educated people on road evaluations, and they're going to be giving us a presentation tonight about pavement management. The village submitted applications last year for every technical assistance opportunity available through CMAP, seeking support to address key infrastructure and planning needs. We were selected for help developing a pavement management plan. This analysis helps to validate the work we had already done to assess road conditions and provide an objective, technology-driven analysis using laser and GPS-based tools. The result of this work is a long-term pavement strategy tailored for Indian Head Park. This is especially important because residents have rightly raised concerns about how the village is approaching road maintenance and repair. Thanks to the partnership with CMAP, we now have an objective, data-driven roadmap for prioritizing and budgeting street improvements over time, ensuring transparency, accountability, and maximizing impact within our means. So please, if you would like to come forward to and provide the presentation, Rami and Joe, that would be great.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Ramesh Kaiban. Joe unfortunately wasn't able to be here, so I have with me in the audience from CMAP, Jose, and from AECOM, Abbas. So I represent Applied Research Associates, and I will be giving that presentation. And honestly, kudos to this summary that you provided, Mr. President, because I cannot summarize it that way. So thank you. This is a very comprehensive summary, so I will dive in right into the presentation. So as you discussed, it's a CMAP grant that AECOM is helped to manage, and Applied Research Associate was assigned to conduct the boots on the ground work. Mainly, what is pavement management system and what are the component of pavement management? So as you can see on the screen, it's kind of a loop where we start with data collection, because as you mentioned, it's a data driven. So we cannot do anything without data collection. And then we conduct something called Pavement Condition Index, or PCI survey. So what is PCI? It's kind of a scorecard from 0 to 100. So every single road starts with a score of 100. And then whenever we see a deficiency, a crack, a pothole, something, we start deducting scores. So 100 is perfect, 0 is the worst that you can ever imagine. And then we assign performance model, which is how the road within the age will perform. So this score, how it will decrease within the life of the pavement. And then we assign treatment matrices, which is, okay, if the score is around 80, it has these type of cracks, what is the best treatment that, or most optimized treatment that need to be applied, and so on, if there's like a pothole or there's like other deficiencies in the pavement. And then, of course, everything is restricted by budget, so we assign budgets, and from the budgets, we know how to allocate the treatments. So it's better to do preservation versus reconstruction, etc. And then with that, like kind of summarizing everything, we do some maintenance and rehabilitation optimization, where and when to act to get the best or the most optimized benefit to cost scenario. And then we do that in a 5-year capital improvement plan or 10-year capital improvement plan. And that's what we did for, we customize it for the village. So what we did, what's the pavement distress survey that we did, similar to the announcement that we sent early on when we started the project. This van that you can see on the most left, this van toured all roads here at the village and was able to scan through the lasers that you can as well see in here all the roads. So it's infrared lasers that scan every single crack on the road. And then we go and we train them, we treat them, and then we analyze them in the office to check every single crack. So in addition of all the lasers cracks that we collect 360-degree images of right-of-way. So every single 20 foot of the road, now you have a 360 image similar to the Google image that were as well delivered to the village in a hard drive. At the same time, we scanned with the like front bumper. There's a beam where we scan the profile of the road, and when scanning the profile, we check the roughness of the road. How rough is the road? And then we assign numbers to it, which will be as well delivered in the report to the village. So mainly, how do we do that? So collecting the data, you can see on the top left side, this is a right-of-way image. That's what we collect. On the top right side, this is technically whenever we measure all the lasers, that's what we measure. So you can see all the cracks, there's red and there's yellow depending on their severity. If the crack is opened, and what I mean by severity is what's the extent of the crack. If it's like too severe, like the crack would be like large. If it's a hairline crack, that would be low severity. So we assign these severities, and then on the software where we rate all these severities, we go and draw boxes and draw stuff to be able to assign all the cracks to which type they are. And then, of course, we do quality control on that and everything. So the data that we'll be presenting is very much vetted by ARA and AECOM and is delivered to the village. So some example of what are these scores. So as we discussed, 100 is the best, and then 0 is the worst. So a PCI, a pavement condition index, PCI of 100, as you can see in here, is similar to this like section ID 30 in Acacia Drive. And then let's say a score of 79, which is a category of satisfactory. You can see it in here as Elmwood Drive. So you can see there's some cracks that they are sealed. So this is an example of what 100 means, what 79 means. as well what 68 means. So this is a Thunderbird drive. So you can see there's a little bit more cracks in here, transverse and longitudinal cracks. So that it gives more deduction from that score. 51, you can see there's like some maybe raveling in here. There's more cracks, more frequent. There's some alligator crack that you look at the back of an alligator. So that's why in here the score is even lower, around 51 in Briarwood Lane. And the lowest scores that the village has was 36. So we didn't have, there's two more categories other than very poor. So that the village technically didn't have, which is really good. So the village is technically maintaining the road in a good shape, but the worst road we found was Eastern Avenue that had a score of around 36. So this is a diagram showing all the categories that the village has, and then the map on the left shows every single road with every single score. And it's color coded, so the dark green is good, the light green is satisfactory, yellow is fair, poor is pink, and then very poor is red. So as you can see here, literally this is the best diagram that we would like to look at. So you need to have the good as the highest percentage you need, and then everything is decreasing afterwards. So having this diagram is great. And having an average network pavement condition index of 83 is phenomenal. So the village is starting in a great, from a great point. And the most important thing why then we need to do a pavement management system is to know how to best allocate the money to keep that score in there. So that's why to optimize our money to know what we need to do for the future for the next 10 years, because you don't want to start falling behind, because if you start falling behind, we need more money to fix the road and we start in a death spiral. So this is a great start how we can keep it. And to be able to do that, we're not including any politics in here, any like favorites or playing favorites or anything. So that's why it's data driven. We go and put it in a pavement management software called Paver. Why Paver? Because this software is first, it's cheap. Second, you don't need to pay a yearly membership for it. So you pay it once, and then that's it. It's yours. And then you keep playing with it, changing it, running different scenarios, different budget scenarios, and as well, the village got trained on it, so they can run their own scenarios. Definitely, we can still assist, but the goal is for the village to run their own scenarios and update their own system going forward. So this is how the software look like, where you have different windows in here depending on what you really need, and deterioration curves, and then the condition, and we will go through what the software will provided us based on the different budget scenarios we ran. So first, as we discussed, one of the component is the deterioration curves, how the roads will act throughout the years from different scores, and then we customize that based on the village roads. So this is technically how the road will deteriorate throughout the year. So if they start with a score of 100, this is throughout the year how the score will look like, and they will look similar to the examples we showed, so the 100, 79, etc. So we did several performance curves, which is one for local roads, and as well one for collector roads. So we use, because just the collector roads might have more traffic, so that's why they need to be in a slightly better condition to local roads, and they might act differently throughout the years. And this is kind of the treatment matrices we allocated. The only, I would say, a major point I want to mention in this table is that residential road has like kind of a cutoff between like major repairs and local repairs or preventive maintenance of 65, a score of 65, versus collector of 70, and this is mainly to keep the collector slightly in a better condition than local roads, just because they service more traffic. So this is the budget analysis that we did, and this budget analysis is based on maintaining the current condition. So if you want to maintain the current score, which is a great score for the village, how much money and how you need to allocate your money. So as you can see in here in green is pavement preservation, which mainly, let's say, crack sealing, rejuvenating, doing these stuff. And then the major M&R budget, like major M&R is, let's say, you have a lot of patching, reconstruction, mill and fill. So you can see in here that it goes into cycles. And the first cycle is mainly most of the money is allocated to preservation because you're in a good condition. So you need to preserve the first year what you have. The second year you might have some of the work that you need to do, let's say major like pothole patching or some mill and fill, but then you become in a cycle of preservation and so on. So the good thing is that you're in really good condition. So you need to keep doing preservation, meanwhile taking care of these small, let's say, road that might need more kind of care to put them in good condition. So these are the different budget scenarios that we ran. So first we ran that you need to eliminate all backlog. Eliminating backlog, which means eliminating all the roads that are below a specific score, which is 65 and 70. And this mainly you're eliminating all the roads that are expensive to repair. And then you will be in a steady state of preservation. And then we ran another scenario which keeping the PCI score, the overall network at 85. So you're currently at 83. If you just want to bump up to 85, what would happen? And we found out that if you maintain 85, you're technically eliminating all the bad roads. So that's why you can see both curves are very similar. A maintained current condition is in blue, which is just keeping the score, which is great, as around 83. And the one in red is you allocate literally no money. So it's the worst case scenario. So you allocate no money for the next 10 years where you will end up. So kind of these are the boundaries. The eliminate backlog or target 85 are the best thing you can do. Do nothing is the worst thing you can do. And the middle is maintain current condition. So this is the unfunded budget. We will get it later, but mainly how much assets needs money and how much money you need to spend on your road assets to be in a really good condition. So you can see in here, eliminate backlog is 0, and then 1 million for unfunded, and do nothing is very high. But technically, it's just a descriptive curve, which we'll be going over in here in this table. So if you want to eliminate backlog or keep the target of 85, you will need around 250K a year. Maintaining the current condition, you will need around 207K a year. And with the discussion with the village, we found out that the budget of maintaining current condition is very close or to your current budget. So technically, you might not have any challenges with your budget. You just need maybe to keep it up to date with all the construction and inflation rates. And in this analysis, inflation rate was included, but you just want to keep track and make sure everything is still aligned. And then, of course, do nothing is $0 per year. So if you eliminate backlog or target 85, you will end up with a pavement condition score of your whole network around 86. If you do it 207K per year, your average will be around 82, which is great where you are. So for now, you're in a good position. You just need to know where to allocate all that money. And that's why we did like maps that where you need your major maintenance and rehabilitation. So these are from 2026 to around 2035. And there's color codes where every single road is assigned a specific year where it needs to be acted on. So, and then in here, every single year, it's shown in blue what mileage will be covered and how much money need to be allocated for major maintenance and rehabilitation, which is mill and fill or major patching. And then this graph shows how if you maintain the 207K per year, how the graph that we showed first, which is the green as the most, and then going down, would look like in 10 years. And as you can see, the green was still the most popular, I would say, category, and then all the other are decreasing. There is some roads that will fall into the serious and failed condition, which can be repaired whenever there's like a big grant that coming in, where you say, okay, this road might not be worth the money right now, but whenever we have some money to reconstruct it, we can do it, all of it, and then, but the most important thing is to keep the good condition in good condition and to preserve them. So if there's a road that is in a really bad condition and really need money, it might not be really worth to take all the money from all the other roads and then spend it on that specific road and then not preserve or not act on most of the pavement, just because the pavement preservation dollars are really small compared to reconstruction. So you can preserve a lot more roads with the same cost of reconstructing a small road. So, and this is what mainly I'm talking about. So if you're trying to do the worst first, is going and let's say I want to do all the bad roads first. Let's say you will end up with around, this is just a figurative example, around 375K per mile. Versus if, let's say you decide to do preventive maintenance, you will act first. So even though the road looks good, but you go rejuvenate it, you do a crack seal it, and then you will have like $10,000 per mile. And then after a couple more years, you go and do some minor rehabilitation. And then after a couple years, you do like some treatments here and there. So that's why the overall cost of the road per mile will end up to be cheaper than waiting for the whole road to deteriorate and then reconstruct it. So that's why it's really important for where you are to keep and preserve it and don't go below where you are. So as well, we did some localized maintenance that need to be looked at. So overall, you will have around 98 sections to need local preservation, which means crack sealing and patching, and this is the amount of how much work quantity it is, around 7,100 linear foot of crack sealing and around 2,800 square foot of patching. And just this is to keep your pavement preserved on the short run. And then from stopgap, there's 4 sections that need stopgap. Mainly is if you have, let's say, a major pothole or something like a big deficiency that might generate some safety issues. Let's say if there's a big pothole where somebody need to, let's say, steer their vehicle outside the road to avoid it. So it's very few. It's only 4 sections with a total of 73 square foot. And this is a map showing where are these. So there's like a cul-de-sac and then some small roads in red that's showing on the right-hand side of stopgap where they might need immediate look at, like, hey, there's some potholes that need to be patched. And then on the left-hand side show the road that need some crack sealing or some patching just to keep them preserved in the short future. So some recommendation, mainly keep doing what you're doing and keep preserving the road. So keep in your mind that preserving the road is the most important thing you need to do. Update your pavement management system regularly, so you will be having the software and then you are trained on it. So keep it updated, and it's, as mentioned, no membership per year. So it's really good. And at the same time, if you want to do some repairs, it might need be worth it to do some further investigation, like structural testing, coring on something to know what's the root cause of the failure before you go and pavement blindly. And in the end, keep doing your pavement management look, and then investigating in pavement management systems every 5 years, 10 years, to see if all these assumptions that we did, like with the deterioration curve, are still valid, because technology change, material change, and all these might steer the deterioration curve instead of the traffic and the growth of the load. Like one example is electric cars. They are heavier, they might destroy the pavement faster, so they might change how the pavement deteriorates. So it's always good to update your pavement management system. And with that, if you have any question, we're here to answer any of those.
So I do have a question about that. Couldn't you change the model to take a quarter of the vehicle weights, or let's say 10% are electric, and see how that would be detrimental to both our arterial roads and our side streets to see how the pavement will be the worst case with electric vehicles being heavier. So
Sure,
we
sure.
should be able to see what the deterioration would be in the worst case if we knew that 10% of all cars or 5% of all cars are electric.
Right. So there is some national model that are being comparative between how will the structural deterioration will happen. Though the thing is that in here we're taking historic data and we're basing our judgment on historic data. Just because we don't have all these electric cars and electric, let's say, trucks, let's say Amazon trucks might be heavier in the future. So we don't have that data. So we might be speculating, and then it might change the budget more that we might not be able to stand after it. And just because we customize those to the village, so it might be harder to apply a national model that are saying how much electric vehicles are damaging the pavement faster in different, let's say, places around the US, apply it right away to the village, because if we apply it, it might not be applicable. So this is something to look for, and that's why it's always good to update your system. Like if you see if there's application of like all these Tesla trucks and Amazon trucks being like fully electric and damaging the pavement farther, it's good to see from a year to year how the pavement is being damaged and go right away, update the system and update the fit of the model that, hey, it's deteriorating faster, how much budget we might need, what type of fixes we might need to get ahead of the curve.
Thank you.
I've got a couple questions. When you were talking about $207 to $280. I thought you were talking about, I thought it was $280,000 per year, but this is per mile of street that is being addressed?
So the overall budget, so 207K per year to maintain the current condition. Yes.
So it's 207,000.
So yeah, the overall budget for pavement preservation and construction,
Well,
everything.
first of all, I wanted to thank you for the presentation, but I had a couple other questions. The village engaged Thomas Engineering and provided a roadway conditions report as of December 2024, and it had charts with streets and things like that. Did your process review that report in comparison to your findings?
We did not get like outside influence. So this is an independent study. So we saw historically what you did, like all the historic construction and preservation that you did, we included it. Any future construction and future fixes that you might need, we didn't look at that.
Okay,
So-
well, this was a forecast going forward for 5 years, and so,
Right.
I think maybe address it to Gavin or Joe, I'm not sure, would a comparison to that engineering report that we paid for be,
That's our intention.
would be
And
appropriate, and when
One
might
of the
that be done if
benefits-
the answer is yes, you're going to compare it?
one of the benefits of this was it was an independent look at our roads to affirm or confirm what Thomas has been telling us, and to get a different approach to assessing our road conditions. And yes, we will incorporate that into what you and I and Joe and the Public Works Committee had discussed on Tuesday, the idea of laying out a roadmap for how we're going to manage our pavement going forward, how much crack sealing we're going to do per year and where, and other investments into the roadways. So I believe we committed to getting that, the plan for developing that roadmap to the board and out to the public by, we're going to have the plan for the plan by the end of next week.
The 207,000 or 280,000 doesn't really cover digging up and replacement streets. That deals more with, it would appear to deal more with resurfacing or grinding and resurfacing, maybe cleaning them up. But did you identify any streets that would be replaced during this period of time?
Yes, so this budget, the 207 to maintain the current condition, or the 250 to eliminate all these budget, is including the option of reconstruction of any road or milling and filling of any road. Though we prioritize those based on the benefit that it will provide the whole network. So if there is a road that you will be seeing that needs construction, and definitely, like for example, the road that is identified in here, this is a road that, yes, the Eastern Avenue does need reconstruction.
Eastern Avenue?
Eastern, sorry,
Pardon
Eastern
me?
Avenue.
Yeah.
Eastern Avenue,
It's Eastern, yes.
Eastern, yeah.
No, Eastern, it's,
Yes, yes.
Joe,
sorry.
go ahead, Joe.
That's over by the Public Works Building. It's kind of behind. It's a very seldom used road. So as it is a poor condition road, but it's
Not
not a main
used.
road that anybody really even drives on. So as it's a lower priority on our list.
And I believe the two roads on the other slide, Briarwood and Thunderbird, have both been reconstructed since the study was done, right?
The Thunderbird was,
I meant Thunderbird.
yeah,
Briarwood was not.
no, it was
Oh.
not. That's in our
Acacia.
Is that Acacia?
short
Yes.
term. Yeah, that's in our short
in our
term though.
next-
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
Right, so.
I take it the board's going to be given the entire report so we get a chance to.
yes.
Yes. When will we receive the final report?
So the report now is in a draft version. We send it for review. We're reviewing internally, and then we will be able to share it with so it should be within the next couple of weeks, like by the end of that
Okay.
month.
And we will email this presentation to all of you and put it on our website as well.
Sure.
Yeah, this would appear to be more favorable than what the engineers report had indicated in the 5-year period of time.
I think the
Is there
word
some-
you're
'cause
looking
there-
for is phenomenal.
I'm sorry?
I'm pretty sure you said phenomenal.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, right, so one of the processes that we're going to go through is to understand data-driven decision-making, right? We've had this discussion a bunch of times, that sometimes we've used data-driven decisions, and sometimes we haven't. So this time, we made those, we collected that data, and we are going to compare it with other ways that we have looked at projects. And we are going to see what makes the most sense and use a comparison, and our staff is going to be engaged in that process using consultants like the CMAP people that are here tonight. And then they are going to bring to us the alternatives to the board and to the COW to tell us what they recommend for our next steps and for budgeting in a 5-year and 10-year capital plan. It's going to be very surgical, it's going to be very detailed, and it's going to be backed by data. And that's how we're going to move forward with our planning.
Joe, have you had a chance to look at this report prior to this meeting?
Can I ask a question? Excuse me. You stated, how many years should the streets be driven with that laser?
It's recommended that every 5 years to update it to just keep your deterioration curve, everything updated, consuming to the assumption that we did today.
And then how often is the technology of those lasers being updated?
So the thing is that this technology has been there for around, let's say, 20 years. There was the first version, there was a second version. This actually technology is used by the Federal Highway Administration to get all the interstates. And then the thing is that this van is every year being, updated and looked at for its calibration.
So it's more the calibration than it is new technology in the lasers to be more sophisticated.
Yeah, so for now, we didn't find any need for, the whole industry, we didn't find the need to advance this technology further because that was good enough. Now, the new technology that is coming where you use AI with a dash cam to be able to simulate what we're doing, there's a lot of controversy of how accurate it is. But for now, this is the best technology that you can have and is available to be able to identify what we need to identify.
In part of the data, does that take into consideration speed limits on the roads and everything as well?
Yes, so this is like from speed limit and traffic, we try to identify that from collector to local roads. So that's why in here, most of the roads are 25 to 30 miles per hour. And definitely, usually when we deal with, let's say, county level or let's say bigger city levels, we definitely need to act where hey, this speed limit in here is high and score is low, so this might be like a red flag in here where it might not be safe to drive on it.
And when you mentioned the weight of the vehicle, specifically electric, but also trucks, does it take into consideration how often heavier vehicles and what roads heavier vehicles on, specifically trucks, and they sit at lights? That's where you see a lot of the dents and indentations. Does this survey take into consideration that as well?
So if the distresses are present, yes, they are measured and taken into consideration. But if the distresses are not present, we were not able to take those into consideration. Like, hey, there's any indentation in here, or there might be an indentation just because there's a stop sign in here. So, and the thing is that the traffic is embedded implicitly into that analysis. Why? Because as mentioned, it's divided between local roads and collector roads, but at the same time of the historic data. So if historically, let's say a delivery truck has been driving on this road 5 times a day versus on the other road 2 times a day, we might most probably see that this road is more deteriorated than the other road. But you would be surprised that not only delivery truck, but dump trucks are
Right.
the most
That's more the concern.
deteriorative trucks that going around because they are low speed and they are heavy.
Right.
So in the interest of time this evening,
I got one other comment I want to put in there, and
Yeah.
that is, the 207,000 to 280,000 does not include where we're going to be digging up the street, replacing water pipes and sewer pipes, and then resurfacing that. Was that considered at all in your evaluation?
So for any infrastructure not related to pavement, no. But digging up the street and reconstructing, we assigned a unit cost for
Yeah,
that.
what I wanted to do was I didn't want the audience to leave here thinking that next year's budget for streets was going to be in the 207 to 280,000. Next year, we're digging up a street, and the term is going to be substantial. The money is going to be substantially higher than that.
correct, because this is a payment, this is a pavement project.
Yeah, it's paved.
It's not a under-street sewer or water main project.
Yeah, well,
So,
I
yes,
just wanted to create the difference.
Yes.
that- or-
Thank you very
or
much.
Articulate the difference. Thank you.
great. So in interest of time, we are going to get the report. Our people haven't even seen the report yet on staff, so they are going to have to get this from CMAP and then analyze it and compare it with other data that we have from our engineers. And then they will be presenting to the board a plan moving forward and what the recommendations are using a roadmap. And they will be presenting that when Gavin says that they're going to be able to present that to us and give you the answers to your question regarding the plans with Thomas versus other plans that they have in mind. So that'll be part of their recommendations that they will provide to the board. Any other questions before we move on? Thank you very much. It was
Sure.
very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite a lot of work.
All righty. Can we please move along to the consent agenda? May I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay,
I
that,
move to place out item C, which is approval of the committee, the minutes of the whole for May 22nd for separate discussion. We can pull it out.
Yeah.
okay, so you would like to pull out, so that was, just so you know, Andres, do you have the first and the second there? Yes. Okay. So you'd like to pull item C out of the consent agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay. All righty, do we have any other questions on the consent agenda items? Because we'll need a financial report from our treasurer.
Okay, the financial summary for the month ending May 2025. Cash on hand at April 30th, 2025 was $3,570,440.21. Our payments for April of 2025 were $905,854.13. Total revenues for April 2025 were $1,039,000 and $621.21. And our ending bank balance at April 30th, 2025 was $3,704,207.29.
Alrighty, any other questions on the consent agenda items? Alrighty, if not, I would like to take a roll call on items A, B, D, and E. We're holding out item C for review. Can I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Trustee Iannacco?
Aye.
Trustee Saldana?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Svetka?
Aye.
Trustee Gazis?
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Alrighty, thank you. Can I have a motion, please, to approve item C, approval of the Committee of the Whole minutes from May 22nd, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
We're going to look to amend a portion of that. Mr. Gavin, do you want to note that?
The points of concern they're on page 144 of 152 in your board packet tonight, and this is the summary of the discussion about the waste hauling agreement. In the section that begins with concerns about fragmentation, trustees noted that the fragmented structure caused by carve-outs and optional participation, it says, had weakened the village's negotiating power, and I've talked with Trustee Eck about this, and he suggested that really the conversation was that it could potentially weaken our position, our negotiating power. So that's one correction, and then the other correction was in the next section, the RFP direction. The minutes read, the tentative direction was for staff to begin preparing a request for proposals, and that the RFP should be based on a model that includes all single-family homes and townhomes, excluding dumpster-serviced multi-unit buildings. And actually, the direction was prior to developing any RFP, we would meet with the HOAs to discuss their needs and identify what their current level of service is and how that would fit into the RFP, and we are planning to do that. But for the purpose of the minutes, we'll change that to prior to developing the RFP. We will meet with the HOAs to discuss their participation.
Patrick, do we need a motion to that effect?
So I would take your motion then to be an amendment to amend the minutes?
Yes.
And then Trustee Gazis, who seconded that motion, are you satisfying the amendment? So then the amended minutes are on the table for approval.
I'm okay with that.
Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes.
Can we have another motion for the amended minutes?
To approve the amended minutes.
Do we just need a roll call vote?
Yes, because the amended minutes are on the table.
Okay, so on the table, we have the amended minutes. Can we have a roll call vote, please, clerk?
Trustee Iannacco? Aye. Trustee Saldana? Aye. Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Svetka?
Aye.
Trustee Gazis?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving along to new business. Can we please have a motion for item A, please, of new business?
I'll make a motion, item A, PZC petition 20-03, variation for a fence in the rear and side yards at 6344 Black Hawk Drive.
Second.
Item A is a zoning matter that comes to us via the Planning and Zoning Commission. The petitioner at 6344 Black Hawk Drive is requesting a variation to allow a fence to be constructed in both the rear and side yards where current zoning regulations impose restrictions. This request is based on site-specific needs. The commission has reviewed the details and recommends denial. If a supermajority of the board would like to reconsider or to consider this petition, they can direct staff to draft an ordinance in favor of the petition. So,
All righty. Do we need to have the petitioner come forward? Is that appropriate?
go ahead, Andres.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little more detail about what Gavin said. So because the Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations, they basically gave a recommendation to not approve this. Of course, everyone has the option to appeal or go to the village board, even if they get a negative recommendation, which is what the petitioner asked to do. The reason for the variation was because of the petitioner requested they have 2 very large dogs that have behavioral needs, and they have been recommended by those who professionals about dog behaviors and trainers that they use a fence, particularly because the dogs have very large coats. I did on page 119 is my cover memo for it, and then following afterwards is the total packet that was also provided to the Planning and Zoning Commission. To summarize it, there was a public hearing on May 6th. The Planning Commission unanimously did not recommend approval on that as well. So otherwise, yes, if you wish, the petitioner is present, and if you wish to call her up there.
Could you summarize the reasons for the commission's recommendation?
The commission looked at the findings of fact, both as the petitioner presented them, and as staff evaluated them, and agreed with staff's recommendation to not approve it. There is nothing that is, to be clarified, there is nothing that is site specific to the area. So that would create the hardship. And in totality, excuse me, 1 second. In totality, so the staff did not feel, and then the Planning Commission agreed that the findings of fact rose to having a hardship due to the petitioner's request. So.
And I'm assuming everybody saw that on pages 121 through,
and actually, I wanted to point out that one of the concerns that the Plan Commission also provided, had during the discussion was that it would set a certain amount of precedent of a certain level of precedent for applying for and getting variations for fences, which is a matter of frequent discussion in the village. So.
Was there any feedback provided by the immediately surrounding neighbors to the parcel, either in support or not of the petition?
I believe that there was that the petitioner submitted some support. I'm trying to remember. My apologies. In regards to it, but it would be in the packet, and I apologize. I don't remember off the top of my head.
No worries.
on page 131, and you can see it after that in the packet, is some information from the dog trainer and also some other information about traditional versus electronic fences and some other things.
I have a question. Do the dogs without a fence present danger to other neighbors?
I don't feel I'm qualified to really make that
Was that
determination.
presented in the
Oh, no.
findings, that the dogs being left out without a fence could be a danger to?
Not to the neighbors. That was not part of the discussion. The only danger that was discussed, if I remember correctly, was the fact of the dogs themselves that might, if they're loose, that might be harmed if they, run into traffic or that type of sort.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't. This is not it was nothing about the dogs being, dangerous to others. It was everything that was focused on the dogs.
So it wasn't to contain them, is to keep everything else out?
Yeah, it was
Basically,
for their, I don't want to say mental health, because I don't think that's the right word for it, but that, from my understanding of the discussion and everything that was presented, and you can also ask the petitioner, because she is here, I believe it was for their own safety versus the safety of the neighbors, because that was not brought
So
up.
that's why the invisible fences don't work, because you don't put those collars on coyotes.
So I think the issue, sorry.
And the other part is the dog breed has a very thick luscious coat, which they say makes it ineffective. Once again,
So I think the other part to take into consideration, and I'm very familiar with Dogs in Harmony, I've worked with them for years. When a dog has reactivity issues, whether or not it's overstimulation to people, things, sounds, whatever, a barrier reactivity can be induced by using electronic fences. So most behavioral-based trainers say if you have a reactive dog, utilizing an electronic fence actually perpetuates the behavior as opposed to a physical barrier. So that's, I think, not to speak for you, but I think that's what I interpreted from the records.
Yeah, and on page 135 is the letter that went to the petitioner's letter went to all our neighbors that were within 250 yards from our property. So that did happen, just for facts in your packet.
So I think the petitioners have spent quite a bit of time, effort, and energy, from breeders to veterinarians to neighbors to, I think there's plenty of support. The issue is that perhaps the ordinance with fences is too restrictive when resident has to meet 9 criteria just to be considered. So I, for one, believe that I would love to grant Venki and Mike Lacani this variance, but ordinance 142
42-14.
14 doesn't really allow us to do that. So I believe the Planning and Zoning Commission did exactly what they should have done. As a board, I think what we need to decide is if in 2025, given the safety concerns, given the financial concerns, the Wolf Road, Plainfield Road concerns, and the aesthetic concerns of maintaining our village the way it is, whether we believe that ordinance is still achieving what we want to have achieved in this community. And again, not to put the petitioner on a spot, but that has brought this issue to the forefront. I think it's an issue we should meet head on. I think we all have opinions about it, but the correct way to approach this is not to grant a variance when one shouldn't be granted due to the code being what it is and the statutes being what they are. But I would look to legal and ask Pat, if this particular board believes that this is too restrictive and is out of date with the current needs of the community, what would be the most expeditious and fair and transparent way to go about changing that particular ordinance?
To change the ordinance would have to go through a text amendment process, so that would be a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then whatever that amendment would be, would come back before you to vote on to change the village code.
Who proposes the amendment, though?
The village board can.
So we present it in the next board meeting, then it's referred to the zoning for that public hearing and comes back for approval.
Correct.
That is the process,
So theoretically,
in 3 months.
board could draft ordinance, send it to public hearing,
Needs to be presented here first,
represented here first,
in the next meeting, and then send
goes to Planning and Zoning Commission,
for approval,
and then comes back.
for approval.
Whether Planning and Zoning recommends we approve it or not. That's just the process.
That would be a recommendation from
A
the Planning and
recommendation.
So
Zoning.
the Planning and Zoning Commission could recommend, just as this variance request, that we don't approve.
But
Just
then a
like that-
supermajority can override them, because now you actually have an amendment in front of you.
Understood.
We would be the supermajority. We could, by supermajority, override that, but now it's an actual language that you're changing the ordinance, and then take action on that.
So just so it's clear for us on the board, for the petitioner, for everybody in the room, for everybody that's watching, for everybody that's going to be on all the social media, Pat, can you consolidate that and just let us know what the process will be exactly in a concise, transparent manner, should this board want to change ordinance 142,
Just 42-14.
42-14?
Sure. So at the next village board meeting, there would be an action that would initiate application of sorts with the village board being the applicant, to do a text amendment to change the code do a text amendment to the code to whatever it was phrased.
So the text amendment to the code could be completely new text, or take the existing text and the 9 points that have to be met for a variance and delete them and rewrite it. That would technically be a text amendment.
Either way, or both. Or you could do additional or fewer criteria for a variance for a
variance.
fence.
Well, yeah, that's an option too. To clarify, you wouldn't be amending the requirements for a variation. Those would still stay the same. You would be changing the fence code to no longer say fences are prohibited. Fences are allowed here, not there, some form of,
Yeah, the type of fence could be in
changing
there,
the-
right? The
right.
type of fence, the material of the fence.
but
the height of the
Pat also
fence.
brings up another point where you could make the code, in the cases of fences, a variation only requires these certain things, but.
I just want to caution.
Fine.
I want to caution that it's not really that simple, because if we then change the language on the fences saying we will allow them, we have to be data-driven for that too. Because if you put fences and certain pin numbers against each other and they go all the way down to the ground, now you're creating dams. And this town already has enough problems with water. So we have to be very careful what kind of fences we would agree on, and what areas will we absolutely prohibit them, and what areas will have, and then what is the overall aesthetic of them and function of them.
Regardless, I think the process that Pat's laying out is clear, and that's, in that process, you'll have those robust discussions
So
about.
just to be clear,
those
once again,
details.
the process is, the board as the, well, go ahead, Gavin. The process would be, Pat, the board would be the applicant for a text amendment.
Correct.
For 42-14 regarding fences.
For your example, yes, but it could be
Then
other things.
there'd
Whatever
be-
that text amendment, whatever that text is, whatever that change is, then goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing, which then makes a recommendation to the village board.
So planning and zoning is where the public hearing would occur.
Yes.
Public Planning and Zoning Commission then makes a recommendation to our board, comes to our board, which can be, take the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation, or by supermajority, overrule or approve. Understood.
And that process would start this evening to set it up for next?
No, right. So,
So,
we have an action that has a motion and a second on the floor. If I may be so
we need
bold
to
as.
vote on, we are voting on,
Accepting the recommendation or denying the recommendation, or
You know, you're voting to approve the variation or not approve the variation.
Okay, so we're not voting on recommendation, we're
Voting on item A, the petition from the petitioner, 2025-03, variation for a fence in the rear and side yard of 6344 Black Hawk Drive. That's what's on the table.
And to clarify.
And I think the
Pat,
petitioner would like to have a moment. Yeah, come on up to the microphone, please. Thank you.
I'm a shy public speaker, but I just want, I just wanted to clarify that I'm talking, just the backyard, not the side. It would not be visible. I would be open to suggestion with whatever type of fence, whatever height, whatever aesthetic. Just, my dog has anxiety, likes to chase after cars. It could be a risk for somebody driving if she ran off in the street and gets hit, or they, steer off the road not wanting to hit a dog. So anyways, I have a lot of information there. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on it, but, and I'm happy to participate in anything moving forward for helping others that are in need of a fence that want to change the ordinance as well.
So I think you hear what the discourse is here and the discernment.
Yeah.
That there's currently an ordinance that's very prohibitive of fences. I think we've had this discussion.
Yes, I understand that, I know.
Yes. So now what has been brought to the table now is that there could be a way for us to for the board to bring some recommendations to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And that has to be done in a very deliberate way, and has to be done in a way that's, that's in compliance with how we create policy and get it approved and have our discussions and openness and make sure that we're all discussing this matter. So I think I heard that at the next meeting, we're going to be able to present that at the board meeting, and then it'll go to Planning and Zoning the next month?
One of the legislators in the
Correct.
round table, one of us,
Well-
will have to present something. I commit to present something in conjunction with our
Okay.
lawyer over there.
Okay, so we've had that commitment of the board, but on the table now, we have to vote on the petition that the petitioner has brought to us this evening. So, yes, Andres?
Once again, partially to clarify, 2 points. It actually is, her point about it not being visible is absolutely true. It's just the way the house is laid out, it's kind of
It looks
tilted if you look at page 128. So that's why it's a side yard, because technically it's the rear, past the rear wall of the house, so.
It's the technical definition of side yard.
It's a technical definition of a side yard, but it's not like you'd see it. So that was the first point of clarification. And the second point of clarification that I wanted to make is at the moment, we don't have an ordinance drafted for this, so there's nothing in front of you to approve.
Okay, no,
You-
but
you-
We've got a,
we
we've got
have
a
the language
petition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the
We're
petition.
voting on. This is what we're voting on right now.
on the petition.
We are not voting on any other ordinance or policy. We are on item A of new business.
And if you vote to override the recommendation of the Plan Commission, we will, for the next meeting, bring back an ordinance approving this.
Correct. So I want to make clear that this is a two-step process, 'cause I have nothing in front of you that I don't have the language or the ordinance that was needed to be passed to grant a variation in front of you.
Correct.
So, yeah,
Just want to make,
we understand.
just want to be clear.
Question, if you support the Planning and Zoning Commission, how do you vote on this particular
You vote to
No.
deny this petition.
Vote no.
vote? No, okay, just be clear.
Does everybody understand what's on the table?
Mhm.
Because we're now going to have a roll call vote so we can move to the next item. I think we have a plan here for item A, and I think we have a plan for the policy for the next meeting. Do we? Yes? So now we will have a vote on on approving or not approving the petition from the petitioner 2503.
Trustee Gazzis.
I'm going to abstain.
Trustee Svetka.
I vote no to approve, which is in support of the Planning and Zoning's recommendation. That came out right.
Trustee Eck.
Same vote
And it is?
to support the Planning and Zoning, so it'd be
It's
no,
to
it'd
vote no.
be vote no.
It's no, okay.
Trustee Saldana.
I vote no for the reasons that were discussed today, and I will work on bringing some language base for the public hearing that will have to be held on the zoning. So I vote no on this item, but I will work on the future ordinance.
Trustee Iannacco.
I vote no and support Trustee Christina and coming up with that, with an ordinance.
That's 4 nays, 1 abstain. The motion fails.
Okay. Thank you. Petitioner, thank you for coming. Moving on to item B, can I have a motion, please?
I'll move the acceptance and approval of ordinance 2025-06, which is implementation of a municipal grocery tax.
Second?
We have a first and second, Mr. Gazzis. Gavin?
This item introduces an ordinance that would implement a municipal grocery tax. This measure is intended to replace revenue the village will lose due to the elimination of the statewide grocery tax. By enacting this, a local version, we aim to maintain the funding needed to support core services without disrupting our fiscal responsibility.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure that we clarify that people were spending the
Yes.
money already. It was just being rerouted through the state.
Right.
And now, instead of being rerouted through the state, because that is going away, the same money people have been spending is just going to come directly to their local government. Is that correct?
Correct. The state will still be collecting it, though, and sending it back to us.
I know, but
But it's not
technically.
their tax, it's our tax.
Yeah, but technically,
And
it's
it's
a
the same
direct-
exact amount.
The same exact amount. And what is the estimate of that
1%.
amount for the totality?
We estimate 35 to 45,000,
Yeah,
roughly.
so like
1%.
$10 per house.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the municipal grocery tax? All right, hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Gazzis.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Iannacco.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Moving along to item C, please.
I move that ordinance 2025-07, establishing responsibility for lateral sanitary sewer lines, be approved.
Second.
Second by Trustee Saldana. Okay, Gavin?
This proposes clarifying property owner responsibility for lateral sewer lines. That's the portion of the pipe from the building that is being served to our water main sewer, our storm sanitary sewer main line, and that it includes the tap into that line. This seeks to codify responsibility for maintenance, repairs, and related liabilities, and this has been a source of confusion in the past. And if there's any questions, Joe is eager and excited to answer them.
Any questions on this item? Joe, would you like to add anything to this discussion?
He pretty much covered what we're trying to get at here. There's been kind of a gray area in the past as to who's responsible for what, like on property lines and so forth, whereas the service coming from the house should be the responsibility of the homeowner because it is their service line, and we're providing service to our main line. So Gavin pretty much described it the way I would have done the same thing. So that's really all I have unless there's any questions.
Any questions from the board on this matter? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Iannacco.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Gazzis.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving along to item D, ordinance 2025-08. Can I have a motion, please?
I move for approval of ordinance 2025-08, regulating electric scooters, bicycles, and transport devices.
Gavin?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. It's a second
Second from Trustee Eck.
Mhm. Thank you.
Sorry. There are growing concerns around the use of electric scooters, e-bikes, and other personal transport devices. We discussed this, you all discussed this at the Committee of the Whole, and directed that we bring a ordinance amending our village code that would ensure the safe and lawful use of these devices, including where and how they can operate, age restrictions, and potential penalties for misuse. And it's all in the memo and the ordinance itself. One question that came up is, should we really restrict it to 18 and above? And on the advice of our attorney, if we do any regulation of electric scooters, we have to bring that, because of the state statutes, we have to limit it to 18 and above. So,
Can I just ask one question for the chief? Chief, how would this come into play for Wolf Road? Because Wolf Road's owned by the county and not by the village. Can we still, if this issue's, if we see somebody under the age of 18 riding either an e-bike or an e-scooter, and or what I've seen most recently, dirt bikes up and down Wolf Road, can that still be offense?
Yes, it says that only allowable on roads that are 25 miles per hour or less. Wolf Road is above that,
Okay.
or they'll be driving above that, so they will be cited.
So then these
It's too
could.
dangerous to go on Wolf Road for something like that.
I see it every day.
Yeah.
So these then can still be driven on any road under 25 miles an hour or less?
Right.
If you're 18 or older.
That's if you're 18 or older. Okay. So just to clarify, on any road in the village, if you are under the age of 18, you cannot ride any of these vehicles.
Correct. That's the state mandated that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Do we have any estimate of how many kids take their scooters to school?
I have no idea. I know that there's more and more. It's not as prevalent yet in Indian Park, but where I live, it's all over the place. So it's something that needs to be looked at and needs to be regulated. I have a concern even going down the roadways because we have winding roads, we have elderly drivers, we have distracted drivers, so it's a very serious concern that I have.
Speaking from observation at Highlands Middle School, we've been there for a number of years now, there are a handful of children that I see riding them, and, probably less than 10.
Okay.
But that's only for the middle school section. I don't know about the elementary school section. But one of the things that I think I communicated to Gavin is that I think that we should communicate this ordinance to the school, so the school is aware of it. I think we should post it everywhere. I mean, I think we should just make it very, very, very clear to everyone, so there is no confusion about implementation dates and implementation parameters.
Do we know how many kids take regular bikes to school?
Judging by the number of bicycles that are in the bicycle area at Highlands, tons.
And do we let them ride on the road? On Wolf Road or our roads? Do we let them ride on sidewalks?
There's nothing about bicycles, these are electric scooters.
So recreational riders on bicycles can be expected to ride at speeds between 12 and 15 miles per hour.
Okay,
And we do not have any prohibition for them to be on sidewalks. We don't even have sidewalks. But there's no prohibition for little kids to have bicycles and ride their bicycles to school. And we are now considering taking away the scooters that do not go at more than 10 miles per hour, because that's what the ordinance says, because we're not following an ordinance or a law from the state that says any scooter of any limit. It says 10 or under. So they are limiting scooters that are the safest scooters for little kids to ride compared to the scooters that go faster. And so now we are applying a law in Indian Head Park to take away the possibility for kids to ride the scooters that are actually safest for them to ride, the 10 miles or less, instead of actually creating an ordinance that says that they shall not go above 10, because that's what I think we should prohibit, for people to go too fast on them. And because of what the lawyer has said, if you impose an ordinance based on the state law, we have to impose all of it. I will be voting no, because I do think, and I was completely aghast that the state passed a law to prohibit the safest speed for a kid to use a scooter. They can go faster on their bikes. A runner can reach 10 miles per hour if he runs fast. Are we gonna stop people from running if they go above, a certain speed? Or prohibit them from going slower? We're actually prohibiting the mode of transportation that a lot of these kids have to go to school, and I see them on Pleasantdale. That's how they move, and some of these kids are actually disabled, and that's why they use the scooter, because they still want to be able to join their friends in using a bike. My son does not use a bike as often, and he loves scooters. He doesn't have an electrical one, don't worry. But my point is, he can go fast on a non-electrical one. And then if I wanted to let him go to school on a scooter, I can't now, because the 10 or less mile per hours are prohibited. The faster ones are not. Do we have an ordinance that says that if he goes at
if I-
12
if I
miles
Would
per
you feel
hour?
more comfortable moving the 10 miles to 20 miles an hour limit?
That's not the point. The point is that we're establishing, we can't. It's a state law.
So we would
Yeah,
be.
so regardless if we pass this or not, we still have to enforce it. It's a state law.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that the law is really restrictive for the wrong speed.
Right, well, that's when law enforcement can use their own judgment
But
and,
that's where I
their own
wanted to get to.
judgment, right?
Would you
So-
take a scooter away from a kid that is riding a scooter, that has been riding that scooter to school all year long, on the sidewalk, not on Wolf Road, because he's going to school? So
I think there has to be a measure of judgment by law enforcement. What we're trying to eliminate here is a very bad injury that we know is going to happen with these kids ripping down the roads on mini bikes, you name it, right?
yeah,
So-
but they're usually going faster than
Correct.
that.
So I don't think anybody here is saying a child couldn't, go to school and all of that safely and all of that. I think, unfortunately, because of the state law, we're a little bit painted into the corner. So I think we have to look at this as, what can we do to prohibit what we see with these motorbikes and other things that people are racing around? We just had an issue last week, Chief, that I saw, where we had, we had several youths from a neighboring municipality, get ticketed for this and taken, all were taken away because it was extremely dangerous what they were doing.
So I'm gonna put it out there, and I know that I'm gonna open a can of worms, but Mr. Lawyer, if the person on the scooter is going 12 miles per hour, is that a loophole in the law?
Well, it's, with a maximum, it's a poorly written law, granted. The legislature in their
So now-
infinite wisdom has created yet another mess for municipalities to try to figure out. But it is supposed to be something that has a speed, maximum speed of 10 miles an hour. I don't know. I mean, if we're going to radar it at 12 miles an hour.
We're not going to radar, we're not going to be able to
Right.
tell how fast
Yeah,
they're going.
right.
What we're
So-
gonna
But that's
focus
where
on-
that's where the lawsuits are gonna come, because someone can actually make the point that you took their bike that was
Well,
going
if
at
they're
13
over
miles
18
per
and
hour.
wearing a helmet, and and they're going 12, they probably won't be stopped. What you're talking about is going to the middle school, they're all 14 and under, they're going to be stopped, they're going to be prohibited from.
But one
taking those-
loophole applies to the whole law. The moment the loophole is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you take their bike and they were going at 13 miles per hour, they can actually now say, the law was written and is complete. There's no provision in the law that says, what is that language that, provisions of this law, parts of this law will not nullify the other parts of the law? There's no language for that. So the moment that you,
I think, Christina, wouldn't B cover your scenario? Low-speed electronic scooter is on there because that's the state law. And I agree with counsel, I agree with Pat, it is poorly written. But B, I think, if we're going to play lawyers on TV and get to 10 o'clock here, I think B covers motorized personal transport device, includes electric scooters. So in this, like if I design a scooter that goes 13 miles an hour to get around all this, technically it's not A, but it is covered in B, isn't it? No?
that's what I'm saying. There is a specific language that says all of them 10 or under.
Right, for A. We're covering electric scooters in B as well.
But I think it still has to fall
It
within
has
the
to follow
the
the 10 or
allowable
less.
definition of, right.
That's a poor written law.
Those other things, I don't think they would go 10 or well.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
I get that, but how would one even differ between one that goes 10 miles and below and one that goes above?
I think there's a low-speed electric scooter, and then there's an electric scooter.
So that's,
Two different scooters.
that's the point I'm trying to make, is that we're prohibiting the safest one.
The state prohibited this.
The state
Right.
prohibited the safest one. We don't have to impose that here.
Well, I thought we did.
No, we have to decide where to impose it. If
Okay.
you want to impose it in certain places, that's what the state law says. That shall the municipality want to create their own zones, we could.
Okay,
Okay, we can go a step farther, why not? Let's go. I don't think the chief's gonna be out there, each resource should be seeing if somebody's going 10 or 12, whatever. If somebody wants to play that game, okay, let them play. Right. There's a parental liability component, if they wanna take it and, you know, a lawyer like me has a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old wants to fight the fight, then I guess at that point we can.
There's already been cases, this goes back to the parental's insurance. So there's already local cases here where some of these vehicles, low speed, have run into vehicles parked, and it's caused damage, and the parent's insurance has then had to go and pay that. So there's already been examples of issues in low speed and high speed.
I don't, you know, I guess I'm not looking for the chief or the officer to be out there worrying about that.
The
Right.
difference is speed, but what they need to be out there doing is making sure that what is currently going
Reckless.
on
Yeah, the
is
reckless
stopped. I
people.
mean, for instance, up and down in our community, 3 instances in the last couple of weeks, we've got kids not only on their scooters, but now dirt bikes that are ripping up the grass down by the creek. So not only are they running up and down the hill and the creek on these that they can fall in, but now we've got to go in and pay to repair all this grass. You know, it's things like that that needs to be done. It's not the kids who are going to and from school, which is, you know, a small portion of everything else that we're seeing. It's the kids doing wheelies up and down Wolf Road on these motorized bikes and everything else. That needs to be stopped.
okay.
We
So
just
I,
had to, 2 of them, we grabbed the scooters, we impounded the scooters, and we put a $500 fine to get them back, because that's what the state law is. So we're just trying to get something that has teeth that we can bring to court here. That's the purpose of the whole ordinance.
right, so I think moving forward, why don't we have a motion on the floor here, and we have something written, and now we need to take a vote. If it doesn't pass, then we will seek to make a different decision. But I think we all understand what we were trying to do here, and I think the police department hopefully will understand, you know, how they will take this and enforce it, so we don't have the safety issues that we're thinking that we may have, and that we've already had over the last couple weeks, and it's only the first part of summer. So can we please have a roll call vote if there are no more comments at this point?
The only comment I'd make is what, I accent what Danielle's talking about, is we need to get the message out effectively
And I second that.
to our residents and to the schools.
Even if I or somebody else went and spoke at the school before school started and whatnot, I think that that needs to happen.
Well, I think Eileen had made the, there's on section 2, page 4, the Village of Indian Park will coordinate a bike and scooter safety curriculum with partners in local schools, and a driver awareness campaign via newsletters and electronic bulletins. So that was something that Eileen
Perfect.
Donnersberger had suggested on page 4. So that would be our school resource officer that would be involved in going to the schools per the chief's direction. That could be handled that way with both Pleasantdale 106 and 107 Highlands and Pleasantdale.
Okay.
All righty, could we please have a vote, please, clerk? There are no more questions, comments?
Trustee Iannacco,
Aye.
Trustee Saldana,
No.
Trustee Yak,
Aye.
Trustee Svetka,
Aye.
Trustee Gaddis.
Aye.
4-1, the
Alrighty.
motion carries.
Thank you. Moving along to item E, ordinance 2025-09. Thank you so much, Allisons, for waiting for your item. Can I,
Motion to approve ordinance 2025-09, granting a special use for a front yard handrail at 5 Stonehearth Lane.
Gavin?
We have a second?
Oh, can I have a second?
I second.
Trustee Iannacco seconded that. Thank you.
Do you want to introduce this, Andres, shortly, quickly?
I do everything shortly, Gavin. Sorry, short jokes. Anyway, so this is a special use for a handrail in the front yard. This received unanimous recommendation from the Plan Commission. A key point is that this comes through our reasonable accommodation section of variations and special uses. The Allisons at 5 Stonehurst, they have a very, and if you look at my memo, is on page 62, and the packet follows afterwards. But long story short, they have a very steep driveway. It's a very short driveway. It's very steep. It's one of the steepest that when I've driven around Acacia that I've seen. And just because the angle of the driveway, it also stays very wet, and in the winter, it stays very icy. There's a perfect picture on Google Maps if you look at it, high noon in September, and a third of their driveway is still covered in shadow. So, they said unanimous approval, and they also with this, it allowed them to construct a handrail down one side of the driveway for easier access, both for Mr. Allison and any guests as well.
2 questions. Did the Acacia Board approve this request?
The Acacia Board is supportive of it. As part of this ordinance, one of the stipulations is to work with the Acacia HOA to make sure that it is unobtrusive and matching the aesthetic.
And second, when the people currently living there move, does that call for the removal of that handrail?
As per the ordinance, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can we please have a roll call vote?
Okay. Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Inako.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving along to item F, please.
Motion to approve. Charlie, go.
Motion to approve ordinance 2025-10, decreasing the fee for non-franchise waste haulers.
Second.
This is an item that was brought to you by the Finance Committee, and there's been a lot of discussion over the past year about the waste hauling franchise agreement, and as wrapped up into that conversation was the desire to reduce the fees that we charge to non-franchise waste haulers. Looking at a comparative at our fees compared to others in the surrounding communities, it is much higher. And the state statute allows us to charge this franchise fee. It also says that it should be related to the cost to administer licenses and oversight of waste haulers in our community. So, there.
And is this just for non-franchise waste haulers that are doing the roll-offs, or is this any non-franchise waste hauler that could be doing residential pickup?
Any franchise that is current, or any waste hauler that is currently operating in our village, whether it's for commercial or residential, that is not in, does not have a franchise agreement with us. And currently, we do charge that $5,000 fee to Groot, Blood Brothers, and Charlie. Do you know who else? There are 3 that we charge it to.
Those were the
Andres.
2 that immediately came
These
to
are
mind.
basically for roll-off boxes, correct?
Waste management.
Waste management is the 3rd. No, Groot serves Indian Ridge townhomes, and they have to pay it too.
Okay, well, those are toters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, bags. They use bags.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But if it doesn't matter if you're commercial or residential, any waste
Okay.
hauler.
This just brings us more in line with the neighbors and the neighborhood and those communities that surround us.
What is the delta in revenue for the village?
So currently we earn $15,000 a year. It would be $7,500.
Okay. Any other questions on this item?
What's the benefit, the true benefit of actually lowering the cost, besides being in line with surrounding neighbors?
It helps our trash, non-franchise trash haulers to be competitive where they are less competitive. We actually had one last year because of the franchise fee that left the towers because of the fee. And so this just makes it more competitive.
But if everybody is required to pay that same dollar figure, how is one any more or any less competitive?
Well, the franchise provider doesn't have to pay for it. But if you've got trash hauling at Indian Ridge, or if you have trash hauling at Wilshire Towers, Wilshire Green, it conceivably reduces the cost to our benefit, to our residents as a result, brings it more in line.
Okay, thank you. Right,
Yeah. Could be more.
to lose 75, I don't know. I still not fully grasping on, I get it that the current person doesn't have to pay it, but everybody else does. I don't know. I mean, does lowering it really change much? Huh?
Yeah.
You think we're losing out on people bidding it because they have to pay for it?
Yep.
So you're saying the true benefit then is by us lowering the cost will get us more people who will want to bid, which then in return maybe get more competitive bids.
Just to clarify, though, if you are the winning franchisee, you will not have to pay any fee, any licensing fee. So who it makes it more competitive for is those, the businesses who would go out to market to find a waste hauler, or the towers, for example, that would need to hire a waste hauler. It was one of the tower buildings, the Wilshire Green buildings, that said that they had lost their waste hauler because of those $5,000 fees. So in theory, the benefit would be to those who aren't participating in the franchise agreement that as it currently sits. Now, so I don't want it to get confused with the RFP that we're going to be issuing for a new waste hauler franchise agreement, which will go out to market. And so when you say we're more likely to get better bids, we're not talking about the RFP. We're talking about independent
Talking about
bodies that have to go out to market.
Franchise groups going out for bid on their own roll-off in Wilshire Green or Indian Ridge or what they need. It has nothing to do with the Indian Head Park franchise agreement.
So this is even more separate, okay.
It's just the non-franchise, which is a separate topic that I'm sure we'll be delving into as well, but that not for this discussion. All righty, can we please have a roll call vote for item F, please?
Trustee Gazzas.
Aye.
Trustee Zvetka.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Iannacco.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Moving right along to item G, please, 2025-17.
Motion to approve Resolution 2025-17, using outstanding Rebuild Illinois funds for Acacia Drive improvements.
I'll second that.
Thank you for that second, Trustee Eck.
As you all know, the Acacia Drive project is completed, and we are still working with the state. It was a 70% state project, 30% Village of Indian Head Park project as far as who was paying for it. And during all of this, we also got funds from the state through the Rebuild Illinois program, and we can apply those funds towards our share of our 30% share of the total cost of the project. This resolution will allow us to make that transfer of funds.
Gavin, this is just a cleanup of a previous item, isn't it? Because we already have the funds?
Yes, we have the funds. We have received the funds. We are just, in order to apply them to our outstanding balance on the Acacia Drive project, we have to pass this resolution. So the it's $251,000 that we have already received. What we owe on the Acacia Drive project is $288,000. So there will still be a remainder of $30,000.
But wasn't this the 251 that was allocated for a different state grant that we reappropriated to this?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That was the $500,000 that we were allocated by the state for general infrastructure improvements, and we're working with the state to apply that
Okay.
towards the costs for the pump house that were not covered by the debt certificates.
Okay. Hearing no more questions, can we please have a vote, roll call vote on item 17?
Trustee Gazus.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
Anago. 5-0, motion carries.
Alrighty, we are now moving on to item H, which is our last item in new business, 25-18.
This resolution will allow me to...
Can I have a motion,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-18, authorizing a master services agreement with Flock Safety.
Say it. Take it.
Thank you for the second, Trustee Gazus.
I would like to buy the chief some automated license plate reader cameras. That's what this is for.
Video camera.
For video cameras, sorry. For the flock safety cameras, we have 8 locations. They're identified in the memo around the village. And I'll let Chief speak to the need for this.
Working with Flock for quite some time, and we've been trying to finalize this agreement. However, they had to meet some requirements as far as billing. Those requirements have been met, so we'd like to move forward with the cameras that we had discussed at prior meetings.
Any questions on the camera agreement with Flock Safety? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Iannaco.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Eck. Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
And Trustee Gazus. 5-0, the motion carries.
Great, thank you. Now, did we want to have a discussion of board committees? Or do you want me to handle this?
You.
Alrighty, on the item of discussion of board committees, I have talked to almost every one of you. I think there's one I haven't talked to, and that's Trustee Iannaco, about committee assignments, and we have made the decision to move forward with eliminating both the Police Committee and Public Works Committee, and I have let both of our committee representatives know that. And I will be emailing you the final committee assignments. They're basically fairly similar to what we've had in the past, but I just wanted to make sure that I checked with our new trustee before I sent them out. So if there are any questions, just for the sake of brevity tonight, let me know, email me, and we can discuss anything. You'll get the assignments tomorrow in email, and then if you have questions, trustees, certainly let me know what you think. Okay? Moving on to public comments. I do believe we got one comment from email today from somebody. That
Correct.
would be public comment.
Yep, there's an email in front of you. I put it out there.
Oh, two of those?
No, that's my response. It's in
Oh,
conversation
okay.
mode. There was a resident emailed in asking us with the integration of BSNA, the new water billing system, if we were looking to do a water rate analysis in comparison to other communities to see how, to compare to other communities, and also to look at if there was any sort of like discounts and that type of sort. They had provided us some information previous year, and they were wondering if that information was still being considered.
Do you want to respond to that
Yeah.
or not at this time?
I think Gavin should respond to that.
Yes, we are going to be considering that information and updated versions of that information during the budgeting process with the Finance Committee discussing.
Any other public comments from people here at the meeting? Hearing none, can we move on to reports? Trustee Gazus?
No report.
Trustee Sveska?
No report as well.
Trustee Eck?
Two reports. One, we had the last committee meeting of Planning and Zoning on Tuesday, and we went over quite a bit. And on Monday, we had a Finance Committee meeting as well. In both cases, we've asked those that prepare the minutes to actually prepare them within a week of the meeting closing, so that those of us that were at the meetings would have a better memory recall of what was actually being discussed. I would also ask that the minutes of this meeting also be done within a week's time for the same reason, which is to be able to remember what was being discussed with the written word as well. Because if you get them just before the meeting, it's been a month, and sometimes, I know in my case, my memory's not always that long. So that's a request that I would have going forward in regards to minutes. And that's
But is that a reasonable timing request from the clerk's standpoint? Since we do have videos of the meeting that you could also be reviewing.
I'm not asked to vote on the video, I'm asked to vote on the written minutes, and so that's what I'd like to read.
Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody's in agreement with the timetable on that. So if you want to get back to us, but Gavin and Andres, have you discussed timelines on that?
Yes, and I do think it's reasonable, and I think we can do that. I may not have it we may not have it back to the board in a week, but I have set a standard that we're going to at least have a draft of those minutes within a week. It takes the same amount of time to do the minutes, whether you start them right after the meeting or right before the next meeting. So we're working on that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that it, Trustee Eck, or do you have something else?
No, that was it.
Trustee Saldana? Trustee Iannacco? All righty, moving on to the village clerk.
Biggest thing that's going on right now currently is vehicle stickers. They are currently still having quite a few people walking in. I know I was at the counter for at least half the day today. So we got a lot of people coming in still, not as much using the online as I would like, unfortunately. It seemed mostly the early adopters. One key thing that we've noticed, there's actually a few people, and I say a few, I think it's literally 3, who ordered online. They got them mailed, and they didn't show up. 2, they didn't show up. 1, it took them like 17 days to show up on that. If anybody's watching or anybody knows of anybody that still hasn't got them in the mail and they ordered them already, please come to the office, let us know. We'll give you a new set for free. But then if they do show up after that, please bring them in. We are tracking that just in case, make sure that things just don't disappear randomly. The other key point that we are looking at the other key point we're looking at also is that with that time for mailing time, we will be shutting off online renewals of those. I believe we are shutting them off tomorrow, last I heard. I apologize. I took vacation all last week, so my information might be a little out of date, but I believe that tomorrow is the last day to buy them online. If you do buy them online, it takes 17 days, and it's after July 1st. Our recommendation is to print out the receipt. You can go on and access that and keep a hold of that. That way, if you receive a ticket after July 1st, you can show that you put purchased. They just hadn't shown up as of yet. Otherwise, in less clerk news, but more building department news, we are still very, very busy. I did 4 permits today alone, and I have a stack that I'm trying to grind through, backlog after a week. So I don't have a report for you, but I am working on that because I'm about a month behind on making those reports. Otherwise, to kind of the public comment, we are working towards implementing the water billing. Gavin, we can talk about the water bills today, or? Okay. So because we are working towards BSNA and implementing that, BSNA wanted us, the front office, to do a water bill run so they can see it. We can work through it in August. What that means is that the next water bill will not be a every other month bill, will not be a 2-month bill. We will be letting you know what the time frame is, but it will most likely be 2.5 to 3 months, just because we will be delaying that. So talk to your fellow neighbors and residents in case they're wondering if they don't know what's going on or why they haven't received their water bill, but also the fact that your next water bill is going to be a little bit bigger just because of that. There might be something else. Oh, do we have postcards sent out? Oh, okay, they sent the postcards out. See, it's a week behind. But then again, it's always a good reminder as well. If you haven't received a postcard, remember that some of our people are on LaGrange Highlands water, so therefore, this doesn't affect you. And that is currently, I believe, all for my current clerk's report.
Andrew, as you mentioned building permits,
Yes.
and you and I have had a chance to chat about that. Why don't you share with the board the process through which you go through to issue a building permit? It's not casual.
No. So generally speaking, the official process starts with an application. The unofficial process usually starts with someone walking in and talking to me or calling me on the phone, and I have to, and I help them get what they need to do to provide for the application to then be successful. Because one of the things we don't want to do is have someone turn something in and we miss it because of one little item or one little thing that needs to be on the plan. So oftentimes, I usually spend a little bit of time with them to make sure that application is good. Once that application comes in, we then either look at it. If it's an over-the-counter permit, it's something we look at, make sure we have all the information there, make sure the contractor has their contract registration, and then we issue it right there. Those usually take about 10 to 15 minutes to do. But those are very basic. Those are like-for-like window replacements, panels and sidewalks, patio replacements that don't involve stoops or steps, and then like HVAC, AC, some things that are very, very simple. Anything else requires a $200 deposit, and at that point, we send it out to Don Morris, our building consultant, to review for us. They usually get it back to us within about 4 or 5 days. At that point, the process diverges. Either they give us back it with it's approved to issue, and then we go through an issuing process, which requires, checking to see what the fees are, putting all the paperwork together, making sure that we have the copies that are needed, making sure the permit packet's together, so when they come pick it up, we give them everything in writing. Or it's not approved, and that means we have to notify them and send Don Morris's comments to them. Our current turnaround time frame to do that is usually 7 business days. I always try to emphasize the business days because it is business days. It's not in the office. The days I'm not in the office, I'm not working on permits. So that's usually, and we'll email people and reach out to them on that. Then they come in, we issue it, they get their permit placard, that's that big orange placard, and they stick it up. And then from that process, we then basically wait for them to call in inspections, and Don Morris will go out and do the inspections between 8 and noon. At that point, if they pass it or they fail it, that we keep working through until it's finally complete. It's signed off and done. So start to finish, usually an average permit will take us anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half and 2 hours just to get approved. And that's if it's goes smoothly. If it doesn't go smoothly, it'll take a longer time. But it'll usually 7 business days as well. How long it takes the permits to fully complete, that doesn't depend on us. That depends on the contractor. So, if you would like to see more information on that, I have a very long list of steps that we go through so that we all know what we're doing. That'll have to revise here.
Yes, and it's going to change with BSNA. So
Yeah, it'll get.
it will not matter what the process is right now because
Well,
it's going to change.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You're welcome.
All righty. Anything else, Village Clerk? Are you okay? All righty. Let's move on to the Village Treasurer. Do you have a report?
No, ma'am.
Village Attorney?
No report.
Village Administrator?
Just a few real quick items. The Mental Health Commission of Lyons Township, we applied for funding to support our elderly services officer. They denied our request. We had gotten funding last year, and it was kind of a trial run from their perspective, and they didn't feel, they didn't give much explanation about the denial, but I will get more information from them. They did, however, continue to fund the senior meals here on the 3rd Thursday of every month. So with that funding is through Aging Care Connections in partnership with us. So we will be continuing those. And those have been well attended. Everybody's had positive comments about them. So it's been a really good addition to our programming here. And we appreciate Lyons Township for funding that and funding our partnership with Aging Care Connections, which has also resulted in us being able to refer more folks to, it's strengthened that relationship with that agency, Aging Care Connections. We had a police vehicle, as you know, that was in an accident. Our Corporal Marty Milas is okay. I don't know if Chief was planning to say that. I'm sorry if I stole your thunder, but he is back at work. The police vehicle, on the other hand, has been totaled, and we're going to get a replacement. But our insurance through IRMA is taking care of all of that. They hauled it off and are picking up the title tomorrow.
We were able to strip off a lot of the equipment off it in Public Works
Yes.
too to save. So
Including 4 pretty good tires.
no.
We have an intern from the NIU Masters of Public Administration program. He will start here as our intern on August 4th. And he is a recent graduate of Augustana College. He will be starting in his first year of the MPA program in the fall. And his name is Brandon Fleischer, and he's currently living in Colorado, but he will be moving to the area in August. And we're looking forward to getting him started and having his help with a lot of the projects around the village. His program will involve getting to know every aspect of the village and our operations, so you will probably be seeing his face.
2 years?
And it's a 2-year program, yes. And that's really all. I think everything else has come up in the other conversations. I did have the opportunity on Tuesday morning to serve on a panel at the West Suburban Chamber of Commerce State of the Region program, where I presented along with leaders from 7 other communities, and we're right up there with them as far as exciting things going on and new initiatives and developments. So it was good to hear that and see that from others.
Thank you. Department heads, Joe, would you like to?
Sure. I'm just going to go off the priority list that we have that everybody has gotten. First off, the Pontiac Water Main and Road Program. We're in the design phase of that. Strand is going to start the design phase of that. And the next step would be to get that to go out to bid this winter and possibly have shovels in ground by spring after we get the bid for that. So that's the progress on that. The pump house, President Wittenberg signed off on the task order to move forward with the chlorine switch from gas to liquid, so they're ready to start on that project as well. I've spoke to the Garland Group, who is, they do government pricing for the roof on the pump house. I made contact with them this week. I should have something hopefully end of this week or early next week on some quotes. They get like 3 to 5 quotes for the roof for us. Implement of the forestry management plan. I've been working with Thomas Brannon on that, and we've been working on our grant. We had our quarterly meeting with Morton Arboretum, and gave an update that we've picked 25 spots for our planting this fall. We'll be planting 25 trees in the fall, 25 trees in the spring. We're working on picking a nursery to purchase our trees, and that's that on that. And then the development of a comprehensive GIS. I am meeting with Emmy Simpson, who was putting together our GIS system for our water system on July 2nd. It's complete, and they're going to start training us on how to use it. Our road program for this year was completed. The original contract amount was $273,795. We came in $52,748.15 under budget, with a total cost of $221,046.85. We were presented with IDOT funding recently. Strand brought it to our attention that there was some funding that they're going to make available to us, and they really gave us a couple of week timeline to get this in. So we worked with Strand to get some. It's basically for road construction. So we requested some funding for some road projects that we have coming up. Some of the roads that we picked out were Ashbrook subdivision, Keokuk Road resurfacing, and Pontiac roadway resurfacing, which would be incorporated with our water main project. The amounts that they put in for funding they requested were $160,000 for the Pontiac Drive roadway surfacing, for Keokuk $105,000, for the complete Ashbrook subdivision resurfacing $485,000, and then we also did a street sign upgrade grant as well for safety, to try to get some funding for that, and they're going after $110,000 for that. The consumer confidence report, the postcard that we sent out for the water bill, informing them that there's going to be a bigger bill. We also included the URL for the consumer confidence report that I will have ready to go by early next week. So that'll be available. We'll have hard copies here for anybody who wants to pick them up, but everybody will get that postcard so they know where to find the consumer confidence report. We did our leak survey with M.E. Simpson recently, and they found 4 leaks. We've repaired all 4 of them. The contractors have taken care of them, and we've noticed a significant reduction in water consumption, especially at night, to the point where our system was calling us out because it almost seemed like we weren't using any water. We were, but it was just getting so low that the valve was fluctuating between 1% and 0, and it was flashing an alarm off on that and calling us out. I spoke to our SCADA system, and they've done a few adjustments, so at least the phone calls have stopped. But the good news is we're using a lot less water. We had our recycle event, again, a very big success. The numbers were very consistent with what we did last year. 3 tons of e-waste, 3.2 tons of paint and stain, and however they measure the units, it was 9 units for the shred event. And then the other thing is the Public Works Department went out and put flags out for Flag Day on all the signposts of all the entryways for our town. So I thought that was a nice touch.
Thank you for doing that.
That's my report.
Chief, last but not
You
least.
done?
Oh, sorry.
All right,
I don't have to say.
Officers Willis and Foster been released from field training. They'll be hitting the street by themselves starting Sunday. We are scheduled to interview another part-timer on Monday. We have interviewed one last week. We're also going to do lateral interviews on the 26th of June so we can get a lateral list going, certified list. We're going to meet with the Police Fire Commission, and I met with Briar Place, Commander Gardner and I I shouldn't say met with Briar Place, we met with police agencies, fire agencies, and representatives of Briar Place. We're going to need to have more meetings, I'll just leave it at that. So that's just the first of many, and we're trying to work on who's responsible for what. That's it.
Thank you. All righty, I think we're at that time where there is no closed sessions needed tonight, so can I please have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.